So what if the story of the Roman Empire, the one we thought we had figured out for 2,000 years, wasn't the whole story? Not even close. Today, we're diving into some absolutely groundbreaking discoveries that are changing everything we thought we knew. The map, the timeline, even the private thoughts of the ancient Romans themselves. You've probably seen the trend online, right? It feels like all of a sudden, everyone is thinking about the Roman Empire. And look, whether you're new to the obsession or you've been a fan for life, your timing is perfect. Because the Rome we thought we knew is literally changing right before our very eyes.
It turns out the history we all learned in school, those neat and tidy stories of rise and fall, that was just the prologue. Thanks to some incredible new technology, we are uncovering a Roman world that was way more vast, way more complex, and surprisingly, way more resilient than we ever imagined.
And our first stop on this journey is in the south of Spain. A team of archaeologists went into this area called Guadalete, and they were expecting to find, a few scattered Roman bits and pieces. But what they actually found was something else entirely. They didn't find a few ruins, they found 57 distinct, previously unknown sites. This wasn't some sleepy remote outpost. No way! This was a complex, organized network of towns and settlements, all connected by trade routes. It suggests this whole region was way more important than anyone ever thought.
And you don't have to take my word for it. Just listen to the language the researchers themselves used. They called the discovery of unprecedented nature. I mean, you can just feel their shock in those words. This wasn't just adding a little footnote to history, this was like finding a whole hidden chapter.
So how on earth did they find it? Not with shovels and brushes, but with technology. They used ground-penetrating radar, which lets scientists see underground without ever digging a single hole. It paints a picture of this entire lost world. It's a perfect example of how our modern tools have become our new time machines.
Okay, so the empire was bigger than we knew. Got it. But what if its timeline was wrong, too? Well, our next discovery challenges one of the most famous stories ever told, the fall of Rome. This is where those simple stories we learn in school just totally fall apart. We're often told that the Roman Empire started this long, slow decline around the 3rd century. But then you look at a city in Italy called Interamna Lirenas. Excavations there show that it just kept on thriving well into the 6th century. For 900 years, this one city bucked the trend, which just goes to show that the fall of Rome wasn't some single event. It was this messy, complicated process that looked completely different depending on where you lived. From a city that survived against the odds, we now turn to one that was famously lost. When Mount Vesuvius erupted in 79 CE, it buried the town of Herculaneum, and with it the only complete library from the ancient world, a library that has been completely unreadable until now. The problem just seemed impossible. These scrolls were basically charred into solid lumps of carbon. If you tried to physically unroll them, they just crumble into dust. So researchers launched something called the Vesuvius Challenge. They offered a $1 million prize, gave people X-ray scans of the scrolls, and challenged them to build AI algorithms that could virtually unroll them and spot the faint traces of ink inside. And incredibly, it worked. A college student was the first person to decipher a complete word from a scroll that was still rolled up. And that word was porphyros, the ancient Greek word for purple. After 2,000 years of silence, the library was finally starting to speak again. And now we're reading full sentences. This first one is a classic piece of Epicurean philosophy, probably from a guy named Philodemus. It's this deep thought about pleasure and scarcity. I mean, just think about that for a second. We aren't just reading random words. We are recovering an entire intellectual world from the ashes. So we have more settlements, a more complicated timeline, and now lost philosophy. But what about the thing that connected it all, the famous Roman roads? Well, surprise, surprise, that story is getting a major update too. Using a mix of old satellite data and modern software, researchers have created a brand new digital map of the Roman road system. And the new total length? Get ready for this, nearly 300,000 kilometers. That's enough road to wrap around the entire planet more than 7 times. This slide really puts that discovery into perspective. We have essentially found an extra 100,000 kilometers of road. It completely transforms our view. We've gone from seeing an impressive bunch of local roads to seeing the very first truly continental-scale transportation system, a system that made it possible to travel overland from Syria all the way to Spain.
It's just incredible.
So let's take a breath. 57 new towns, a city that survived the fall, books being read by AI, and enough new roads to circle the globe. What's the big takeaway here? Why does rewriting a 2,000-year-old story even matter today?
Well, what this all means is, first, history is not over. It's a live investigation happening right now. Second, technology really has become our time machine. And maybe most importantly, these discoveries show us a Roman world that was bigger, more connected, and more resilient than we ever gave it credit for. It's this powerful reminder that those simple stories of collapse, they often hide a much more interesting truth.
And that really leaves us with one last fascinating question, doesn't it? If our story of Rome, something we thought was carved in stone, can change this dramatically, what other foundational stories about our past are just out there waiting for the right tool or the right person to come along and unlock them? Something to think about. Thanks for joining this explainer.